On a year-over-year basis, the GTA is set to see home prices drop for the 13th straight month this February. I thought this would be a great time to update buyers and sellers on what is happening in the market, see just how much things have changed over the past year, and why I believe we are entering one of the better buying opportunity times that we've seen in at least this decade. Now, I know that's not saying much. Prices were exorbitant for a while, rates were ultra low. You just want to buy in an environment when rates are a little more normalized and house prices are down. Like they always say, buy the lower price at a higher rate than the higher price at a lower rate, because then when it comes time for renewal, you're much better prepared to deal with that. Enough of my blabbering though, let's get into some of these numbers. Most of today's video is going to deal with the detached market because it's the detached market that really drives everything else. That sets your ceiling for prices and everything falls in line underneath it. It doesn't matter if you're looking at the high-end luxury market or the low-end entry-level, because those detached prices that set the market everywhere else. So while the video is about the detached market, the first chart that I want to show you really applies to everybody that is purchasing or selling right now, and it has to do with where rates are at. So in 2025, February of 2025, rates from the big six, that 5-year fixed rate is what we're going to use, is around 4.99%. That has dropped down to around, you can find it for 3.84%. So that is 115 basis points of drops that we are seeing so far. A lot of that is bond yield driven, I want you to understand. It does not have to do with the overnight rate that the Bank of Canada is setting that affects your variable rate mortgages. These 5-year fixed rates, 3-year fixed rates mirror bond yields more so. So as bond yields go, these rates go. So a few exercises. Scenario one, $500,000 purchase in February of 2025, that would cost you $2,919 per month. Right now, that's $2,583 per month in your mortgage payments. And it equates to about $58,000 more in purchasing power now. So if that buyer who purchased in February of 2025 was jumping into the market in February of 2026, they could afford, based on those payments, $58,000 more in housing. We get to scenario two, that's an $800,000 purchase, which kind of gets more in line to your detached homes that you're finding out in Durham Region. We're seeing detached homes in Oshawa, Clarington area sell for that 800,000 or so mark. Again, back a year ago, that monthly payment would have been $4,671. Now it is $4,133. So that's $540 about per month saved. And your purchasing power is up $93,000. Lastly is that $1 million detached home, which again, you're starting to find these more so even in York Region, Peel Region, probably Halton Region a little bit. We'll get into average prices next. But so a year ago, that would have cost you close to $5,800 per month. That is now down to around $5,100, $5,200 per month. A savings of about $670 per month is what we're seeing. And again, that buyer who purchased a $1 million home 1 year ago would qualify for about $116,000 more now, just based on rate drops. One thing I always tell buyers is that do not go shopping based on the rate you are given and that kind of max budget that you've been given. Yes, stay within it, but don't ever try to shoot for the top. Stay within a comfortable range. Look at your financials and make a purchase based on what you can afford, not what the bank is saying they will lend you. We're going to use a bunch of charts from the Habitat today. And first off, average prices across the GTA. You can see the legend at the top. Durham Region, right now in February, this is just through 18 full days of February, the average price of a detached home is about $972,000. That climbs all the way up to $1.6 almost $1 million for a detached home in Toronto. And the rest of the GTA fills in that gap, with Halton coming in at 1.47 million, York Region at 1.42 million, and Peel Region at 1.27 million. If we rewind back a year, you can see at that even average price in Durham Region was up over $1 million at the time, and every other market has definitely seen prices come down in the year. So we're seeing prices coming down at the same time we are seeing rates coming down. And again, I'm not telling you it is a great time to buy in general. I'm just telling you it is a better time to buy than it was a year ago. And I'd even argue it is the best time to buy this decade, maybe unless you got in super early 2020 when prices again were still much lower than what we're seeing now. Back in February of 2020, the Durham Region detached price was down at $720,000. And again, for comparison, fast forward to today, it's up at $972,000, over $200,000 in gains on that average detached home in Durham Region in a 6-year span. We're in the middle of a stretch right now where we are, again, like I said, it's going to be 13 straight months of price drops right across the entire GTA. That's year over year price drops. You'd have to go back to 2022 when we saw 9 consecutive months of year-over-year price drops. And back in 2017, 2018, we saw 7 consecutive months of year-over-year price drops. And you can see just looking at the gray bars here, this is our percent change year-over-year. Nowhere near the gains that we were seeing even from 2011 onwards, before we saw this bit of a correction in 2017, 18. We saw pretty steady price growth, even in the kind of quiet 2018, 2019 markets. And then kind of COVID pandemonium hit. That's when we were seeing all these massive gains. Not quite as much from a percent change as we saw in early 2017, but since really the middle of 2022, the trend has been downwards for prices, with just the odd month showing year-over-year gains in prices. The other thing that buyers and sellers need to be aware about is transaction volume. How many transactions are happening as a seller? How many people are buying homes in my neighborhood of my property type? As a buyer, how much competition am I up against? And again, it is one of the least competitive markets from this metric. We don't want to look at February numbers because it's incomplete still, but going back to January, detached home sales, almost 260 in Durham Region, 172 in Halton, 266 in Peel Region, 290 in Toronto, and 283 in York Region. Back that up to last year, and you can see that, again, everywhere is much quieter than what we saw even back in January of 2025. And these peaks that we've seen each year, May of 2023 was the peak for detached sales, fell off to May of 2024, fell off again to May of 2025. If we lump all of those detached sales in together, you can see the picture a little more clearly. Again, the May 2023 peak, there were 3,873 detached sales. May 2024 peak, 3,073 detached sales. May 2025 peak, less than 3,000 at 2,874. And again, I'm not seeing much in the market in terms of it picking up dramatically. We are definitely down when it comes to activity. I think it was only the Toronto freehold market that was really outcompeting what it did last year. Every other region was seeing drops in sales activity. It's also important to keep our eyes on new listings coming to market. As much as new listings can be thrown off by terminations and expiries, it does give us some indication as to, do sellers want to come to market at this point in time? Are they trying to relist at this point in time? You can see that it's the opposite of the sales trend. We're seeing higher and higher peaks for new listings really since 2023. 2025 was one of our more active new listings years. When we lump everything in together, you can see that back in May of 2025, that was our busiest new listings month for detached homes since back in March of 2021, when we saw over 10,000, almost 11,000 new listings hit the market. So we've seen a steady climb in the number of new listings coming to market, again, adjusted and affected by those terminations and expiries. The metric that I like a little more than new listings is active listings, and I update this on a weekly basis over on my Twitter or X page. I put out my Monday months of resale inventory across the GTA, where I break down Toronto, Durham, York, Peel, and Halton regions, and just give you an idea as to how much inventory is out there, what's the rate of sales look like, and then we look at months of inventory to give us really market temperature. Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? Is it balanced? And this is a similar trend, probably a little bit more dramatic than we saw on the new listing side. When it comes to active listings, we're definitely seeing higher and higher peaks. 2025 peaked out the highest right across the board. We had super, super tight markets in early 2022, and we were seeing the kind of biggest price jumps year over year that we were seeing in that big run up. But even well up above September 2020, which is our previous high for detached new active listings, my apologies, where you were seeing, in Durham Region, 664 active listings. Even if we fast forward to today in a much quieter market, early on, we're already up to almost 1,000 active listings, detached listings, right across Durham Region. Lumping it all in together to give us the GTA-wide picture, you can see that we peaked out at around 13,000 active detached listings in June of 2025. It seemed to be the peak. Back in June of 2024, it was about 9,400. Back in June of 2023, it was about 6,100. And back in June of 2022, it was about 6,400. So higher lows, higher troughs, and higher peaks as well. This window, it seems to be that active listings, the trend is still upward. If you're out there buying right now, what I'm telling buyers is, if you see something you like and you can afford it comfortably and you're going to be there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I'm not going to stand in your way and tell you not to buy the home. But what I am also saying, there's the caveat that I believe we are at kind of the lowest point for inventory that we're going to see this year. I'd expect to see this climb, just considering the gap in detached homes. Like I said, we peaked out at around 13,000 last year, and this year we are, at just more than half of that. So there's still a lot of room to fill that gap in as we get through the year. Here is months of inventory or months of supply. And again, if you're below 3, that's a very tight market. That is a seller's market. Homes are being scooped up pretty quickly. If you're between 3 and 5 or 3 and 6, they call it a balanced market. And when you start pushing over 6, you're getting into a buyer's market. Lots of inventory just sitting out there, a lot more time for buyers to act. So right now, as of February 18th or 19th, when I'm recording this video, you can see that Durham Region is the tightest detached market at just 3.8 months of inventory. Then you hop up to Toronto detached properties where it's just over 5 months. Peel, 6.3, Halton at 5.5-ish. York Region is the slowest detached market right now at 6.82 months of inventory. Again, well up from what we saw last year, a year ago at this time. And once again, to lump it all in together, if you look at all detached properties right now, February of 2026, it's actually the most buyer-friendly market that we've seen from this perspective. But again, the similar pattern that's going to just keep reoccurring. Higher lows, higher troughs, as well as higher peaks, just telling me that there's still some room for months of supply to grow, and why I feel like buyers should be patient and sellers should be acting with some urgency, especially if you need to sell. It's about pricing properly, pricing aggressively if you do need to sell, because buyers, doesn't matter where you go, even in Durham Region, which is our softer or tightest market, my apologies, it's still balanced. It's not that sellers have an extreme upper hand. A big caveat here obviously is property types and price points. The lower the price point, the tighter the market is going to be. When you get up into those luxury markets, that's when you're seeing months of inventory for detached homes are eclipsing 10, 15 months of inventory in some areas. Whereas entry-level price point in Durham Region for a detached, that's probably maybe even a little less than 2 months. So depending on the type of buyer you are, what product you are looking at, your experience will be different, which is why I offer you to reach out to me if you want to see this broken down by, price points or property types in a certain area. I'm happy to put these charts together and send them off to you directly. Looking at those average days on market right now, Durham Region on average is taking 25 days for a detached home to sell. And in Peel Region, that's our market that is taking the longest, that's up at 37 days on market. If we go back a year, in February of 2025, Durham Region again was the kind of fastest moving market, but it was down at 22 for the average days on market, and Peel was at 29. Again, the slowest for detached homes, but up at 29 was the average days on market. I'm really beating you over the head with this saying, but it's higher troughs and higher peaks even for days on market. It is still in a pattern of a market that is continuing to slow down. Again, February 2025 on average right across the board was 24 days on market. We are up right now to 32 days on market. That's a 32% year over year increase in the amount of time it is taking for detached homes in the GTA to sell. The last chart I want to show you is the sale price to list price ratio. This always comes with a caveat because the list price is just a marketing tactic. Some people list low artificially in order to drive competition, drive multiple offers, and drive sale prices higher. We're not seeing that as often right now. So I think sale prices more often than not reflect seller expectations at this time. They still do not reflect market value. It's the sold price that will tell you what market value is. But this just gives you an idea as to, what markets are still the most competitive. Maybe where are they trying that offer night strategy the most, trying to list low more often than not? Where are they listing more realistically, and where can you go and get the best deal possible relative to list price? So if we look here again, Durham Region and Toronto freeholds are both trading above list price on average. So that probably speaks a lot to the entry-level price point in Toronto as well as Durham Region. We're seeing this strategy play out a little bit. I'm seeing some pretty drastically underlisted homes in Durham Region. So who knows if that seller's actually getting market value for trying this strategy? Who's to say that listing for a little higher and waiting a little longer wouldn't have yielded them a better result? But I digress. Like I said, Durham Region and Halton Region both have sale price to list price ratios over 100%. Peel Region is where you're getting kind of that best deal relative to list price at 95.7%. And then York and Halton Regions coming out at 96.9 and 96.6% respectively. when we lump that all in together. So 98.2% of list price is what properties are selling for across the GTA when it comes to detached homes. Back in February, that was up over 100%, February of 2025. If we go back to February of 2024, it was at 102%. And back in February 2023, 100.7. And then if we go all the way back to 2022, that's where things were selling on average for 120% of the list price for detached homes right across the GTA. So when I am coaching buyers and sellers through the process, these are the numbers that I am actually showing them to gauge what is happening with the market right now. And it paints a picture as to why I believe we're entering a window that is a better buying opportunity than we have seen at any point this decade, in my opinion. Will prices continue to correct? In my opinion, yes. Will sales activity really pick up? That's to be determined. We have another rate announcement coming up, I believe. We'll see what that does to market sentiment as well. But affordability, because of rates, has definitely improved in the last year. Because prices coming down, it has definitely improved as well. Like I said, your buying power has definitely increased as a purchaser. Sellers, if you need to sell in this market, it is all about pricing aggressively, being the most attractive listing from a price point perspective in your area, preparing your home the best, all these sorts of things. That hasn't changed. Marketing that property is extremely important. But like I said, I'm going to keep my eyes on these things. I'll probably do a mid-month update for you every single month going forward to let you know what is happening. But I invite you once again, if there's specific property types or areas that you want this information for, do not hesitate to reach out. All my information is down in the description of this video. Thanks so much for sticking with me right through to the end of another video. Until we speak again next time, please stay safe and cheers. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. And on screen now are a couple other videos that I've done that you might enjoy as well.